Hello again, and this is going to be a Photoshop tutorial on how to add color and also some overlay texture and some composite work in Photoshop. So I know you're probably wondering why I'm in Lightroom right now, but I wanted to show a before picture and then I'm going to go into Photoshop and then show you what your picture can potentially become. So here's one version and here's another version of what our finished product can look like. So again, there's before and there's our after. So you do quite a bit of heavy lifting in Photoshop. Obviously it's a stronger program than Lightroom. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first, let me turn off all my other layers here so we can get back to where we started. So the first thing I'm going to do whenever I take a picture into Photoshop is the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a duplicate of my background layer. So in order to make a duplicate of my background layer, what I press, and I'm on a Mac, mind you, so these commands I'm giving you are going to be for Mac. However, if you Google search just shortcut keys, or if you go up into your Photoshop up here, it will tell you all your keyboard shortcuts if you have time to look at that, or you can make your own keyboard shortcuts. So, but most of the time if I'm saying command something, it's usually the PC equivalent, I believe, is Alt Control, and then whatever the letter is that I say. So to make that duplicate layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command J, and whenever I do that, it's just going to make me an exact copy of that background layer. And the reason I'm not using my background as my first layer, although you can sometimes, is that I like to have that ability to go back if I decide later on I want to completely throw what I did with my edit out the window and start from scratch on my photo again. So I duplicate that background layer. However, if you did want to just go ahead and work on your background layer, what you have to do is you have to take this little lock here and you have to grab it and you have to pull that down into your trash, and then you will be able to work on your background layer. So make sure after you duplicate your background layer that it is highlighted and you're actually working on it and not your original background layer. So once I've done that and I have an exact copy of my photo, then the next thing that I did was I wanted to add some leaves into this. So as you can see here, I grouped it because it ended up getting pretty extensive whenever I was doing this, because I was doing some composite stuff and dragging some stuff in. So you can see there's quite a group of layers in there. So I just grouped them all so that way I could have them all nice and neat here and not clogging up my whole little panel screen down here. So what I did in order to make these leaves is I actually belong to a membership for a design studio called Squidju. A lot of people probably are familiar with this, and they offer all sorts of different templates for marketing materials, that sort of thing. But what's nice is sometimes they offer, in addition to all that, they offer some overlays, and sometimes they'll also offer some textures. So what I used here was I used some of their lovely leaf overlays, which I'll show you over here. And those are right here, so you can see that. And here's the other one that I used. So, and those again, those are a lot of different different layers there for these overlays. So you kind of just have to pick, if you're going to do this, pick the leaves out that you like and just find them by clicking your button on and off, and you'll see where your leaf is flashing at. So that's what I did here, is I just picked out a few leaves that I liked. And what was good about this is that there were some leaves that were completely in focus like this, but then there were also some leaves that were a little out of focus like this, which is really good because if you're doing composite work, you want to make sure that everything kind of flows together. And obviously, you know, parts of the photograph are in focus more where others are out of focus and that sort of thing. So you just got to be cognizant of that if you really want this composite work to be believable. So when I decided which leaves I wanted to do, I went ahead and I selected all of those. And then if you don't already know how to do this, you can select your your leaf that you're working with by putting it into a bounding box, and to do that, a bounding box is Command T, and then when you do that, you have the ability to stretch it, shrink it. You can turn it around, you can put it wherever you want using your move tool, that sort of thing. Just make sure you're selected on the exact layer that you're working on over here for the corresponding leaf. So once I got all my leaves in place, the thing that I also wanted to make sure is that they weren't just sitting there on top of my grass. As you can see, I was very aware to make sure that some of the blades of grass came over my leaves, so that way it's more believable. Like here's an actual leaf here, and you can see how the grass is going over it. So in order to do that, what I did was I went back down, let me close this out. I went back down to my background layer right here, and I clicked on that, and then I went up to my magic wand tool right here. So if you click on your magic wand tool, what you'll see then is if you click on like a blade of grass, and you might have to give this a couple tries, but it does a really good job whenever it does it. If you click on a blade of grass, it's gonna select that blade and other like blades with it, which is totally fine as long as it's getting, you know, grabbing some of those blades that you want. And what that's going to do is that's going to select those. And then what you can do is you can put them up on their own layer, so that way these blades of grass will be on their own layer. And again, once something's selected, to put it up on its own layer, you just hit Command J. That'll put it back up onto its own layer. And then at that point, you can arrange your leaves behind that layer, and then that's how you get those blades of grass in front of the leaves.